Hey guys, so we're here today to talk about Kristen and Leanne again. I feel like I'm too zoomed in. So a couple weeks ago, I don't know, it's all a blur. I filmed a video about the Arctic fox hair color and how it fades. As you can see, it's what I have in my hair right now. And in that video, I talked about how Kristen and Leanne was problematic. And yesterday, an Insider article came out with a lot more details. They did an investigative report. And so I decided that today we're gonna take a deep dive on Kristen and Leanne. We're gonna go through all the problematic shit she's been in. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. And we're gonna talk about why Kristen and Leanne needs to go. Before I get into this video, subscribe to my channel, up every Tuesday and Thursday, and you stick around. We do makeup, we talk about problematic people and why they should go away. It's fun. So the girl who did the article is the same girl who did the article about Jeffree Star and his sexual assault allegations. So I will link it down below because I definitely think you guys should read it. It's a good article. It's pretty in-depth. She talked to 9 former Arctic Fox employees about their treatment at the company and about Kristen and Leanne. And long story short, she's racist and homophobic. I do think it's a little problematic that the article was mainly focused on her homophobia, like that was the main takeaway, when she has such a history of racism. Not to say that one is worse than the other, but I do think it's very clear that as a society we care more about homophobia than about racism, because as a society we don't care about Black people. That's just the way it is. But I'm gonna go through all of it. So because the article focuses on homophobia, let's start with the homophobia because that is the new details, or some of the most of the new details in the article. People in the article say that she called her husband at the time, Ryan Morgan, the F word, which is a derogatory word for a gay man, and basically implied that him wearing nail polish means he's gay. And there was also another instance with a marketing manager who said that she hired someone who didn't have feminine qualities or feminine appearance. I guess not even that. Like, basically Kristen and Leanne said she looked like a lesbian and wanted someone who looked more feminine for an advertising shoot. But she didn't say the word lesbian. So, fuck you, Kristen and Leanne. This should come as no surprise because in my last video I talked about how she is dating a Trump supporter. She was following Candace Owens on Instagram, had liked one of her posts, had dinner with Amanda Ensing. So it's pretty clear to say that Kristen and Leanne is a Trump supporter, so it's not surprising that she's also homophobic. It's strange because her husband, Ryan Morgan, or her ex-husband, Ryan Morgan, was like not your typically masculine male. I just dropped my phone with all my notes on it. Not to say that he's not masculine, but I mean, he dyes his hair funky colors, he wears nail polish, he wears makeup, like he definitely defies some gender norms. So it's kind of strange to see that she was married to him, but has these views. But I mean, I guess that's like everyone who has their one Black friend but is still racist. So those were the instances of homophobia in the article. And then we're gonna get into the racism because the racism category of my notes is a lot longer. So we're gonna start back at her previous scandals. First of all, the first thing I mentioned in my last video was that she has a tattoo on her leg. Hi, cat. She has a tattoo on her leg with her best friend who is Mexican. And it is a can of beans because she calls him a word associated with beans that is a Mexican slur. The article also links an article that basically says that this is the worst slur to Mexican Americans because it's used against them most often. So I think it's pretty clear that this is not a word that Mexican Americans find charming, and the fact that she has that on her for that purpose is fucked. I also totally, I don't know if I forgot this scandal or if I just didn't see it, but back in November of 2019, she was recorded on her own Instagram stories singing the N-word to a Saweetie song. Saweetie? I feel really white right now. She was saying the N-word in the song and people called her out for it. Now she didn't say, the video wasn't facing her, it was facing the stage because she was at an award show. But she never denied the allegations, which means that it was true because let's be real, if it wasn't true, she would have said it wasn't true. But she made an apology, which was a fucking Notes app apology. And here's the thing, here's my problem with let's talk influencer apologies for a second. The apology never once mentioned what she was apologizing for, which is the perfect way to skirt the issue to any followers who may not have seen what the apology was for. She basically was like, there's no, she's like, I could give these excuses, and then literally listed excuses and then said, but I won't. Except that, like, when you say, like, well, I could say that I was in the heat of the moment, or I was tipsy, or I was this, but I won't, you did just say that though, and you use that verbiage so that your fan base and your little Fox fam and whoever your stans are will say, well, yeah, like she was tipsy, or like she's sorry, whatever. So like she literally used excuses in her apology about how she wasn't gonna use excuses. And again, she didn't apologize for, she didn't say what she was apologizing for. She also didn't even show any knowledge that she knew what she did was wrong and why. Like when you use the N-word so blatantly, as a white person, it's your job in your apology to explain why it was wrong, because your audience, again, doesn't know what you're apologizing for. They might not know it was wrong. So you need to say, I understand that this word is hurtful. I understand that this word has been used against Black people for years to enslave them and is still hurled against them while they're being murdered and while they're having hate crimes committed against them. Like, she showed absolutely no knowledge of why she shouldn't say the word. The apology felt very, I was caught, I'm gonna apologize to save face, but like I definitely say the N-word when people aren't around and I'm rapping to songs, which is not okay. Literally, Jackie Aina put out a tutorial on how not to say the N-word when singing. Iconic, a queen, we stand. So like, why was she not canceled then? And it's like, this is the thing with Kristen Leanne, is that she does a lot of tiny things, microaggressions, as you would say. Like there's lots of little scandals. And like alone, they're not enough to cancel a person, because you're like, okay, like, yeah, she mouthed the N-word. And like, I understand that people are ignorant and will mouth the N-word or say the N-word to songs. And maybe that doesn't mean they hate Black people. They don't understand the context of the word. They don't really fully understand until they're educated. You know, there's little things that like people, white people will excuse, let's be real. And if it wasn't, but like once you put them all together, like once I was making the notes for this video, I was like, how the fuck isn't she canceled? She has done so much problematic shit, but it's all just been little shit. And again, she did this in November of 2019. This wasn't years ago. This isn't like when they dug up racist tweets from Laura Lee and it was like 10 years ago. This was in November of 2019. This was a year ago. So then we're gonna go back to what I talked about in my last video. Huda Beauty made a highlighter palette for dark skinned girls, and they did the thing where they did the arm swatches on light skin. It was like fair, light, medium, and deep skin tones. And Kristen Leanne retweeted it and said, I'll insert the pictures, the tweets here because I saved them. Basically said, these swatches don't work on like the first 3 girls' arms, so like what's the point? And again, if she didn't have a history of problematic behavior, you could say, well, maybe she was just saying like, what's the point of swatching it on lighter skin tones when like they clearly can't use it? But then she has a follow-up tweet that literally says, you'd hope that with that many pans, they'd make one light enough for lighter skin tones. Are you fucking serious? You were excluded from one makeup palette and all of a sudden you are now fucking oppressed because you can't use this highlighter? You'd hope they'd make it for lighter skin tones? Do you know how many face palettes and highlighter palettes and bronzer palettes and blush palettes that dark-skinned women or people cannot use because they are catered towards light and medium skin tones? Like, the fact that you were not included for 1 second and you had to speak out about it is so fucking problematic. And she never apologized for it. She never addressed it. She just moved on because she probably still holds those views. Like I said, I literally have my notes, follows Candace Owens. Although I did go check just before filming this video and she no longer follows Candace Owens because it was mentioned in the Insider article. So I have a feeling she went and unfollowed her, but that does not mean that she does not still support her. It just means that she's trying to save face. I'm sure she has a Finsta where she follows all of her hateful white supremacist faves. So this part of the article that I kind of feel like was glossed over, that I think is, to me, the most important part of the article, is that Kristen Leanne, the people in the article were, because Kristen Leanne is a creative director. We're gonna get into that in a second. So the people in the article were like community managers and marketing people. And the marketing manager said that they wanted to address the Black Lives Matter movement, obviously. This year, George Floyd was murdered and there were a lot of Black Lives Matter protests in America and companies were showing support. And so the previous marketing manager said that they had to fight with both Kristen Leanne and Ryan Morgan. I think a lot of this article is focused on Kristen Leanne because she's the more popular influencer, but I think that her ex-husband is just as much to blame as her in all of this because there are instances of him being explicitly involved. She said she had to fight with them to want to donate to a Black Lives Matter or a movement that helps, or a charity that helps that cause. Whether it's Black Lives Matter specifically or a different charity, she didn't want it to be seen as too political. And here's my thing. If you think that supporting human rights is political, you're fucking racist. I mean, she's a Trump supporter, so I'm not fucking surprised because Trump supporters are racist. And if you're a Trump supporter, I don't fucking care what you think. If you support someone who supports racism, you're racist. The end. You basically said that racism doesn't matter to you. So I'm not surprised by that, but they basically said that they had to basically push Ryan and Kristen Leanne into supporting a charity. So they finally agreed because they normally donate to animal charities, but they finally agreed to donate to a charity for the proceeds for June of that month. And then Kristen Leanne asked 2 Black employees to, first of all, she offered to give them a day off because she's like, I guess this has been like a hard time for you. Do you want a day off? Which is okay. I mean, take the days off, girls. But she asked them to appear on their TikTok and to talk about their experiences. And they both said they felt like this was tokenizing. Clearly, you're only asking your Black employees to go on your TikTok so that they can basically try to tell your consumers that you're not racist. Like, let's be real. They're not just gonna talk about their experience as Black people in the world. They're gonna talk about how great Arctic Fox is, how diverse Arctic Fox is, obviously. And that's super tokenizing. The girls both said they didn't want to be on the TikTok, and 3 weeks later, these women were fired. Now that to me is fucked up. They literally fired 2 Black women because they wouldn't go on the TikTok of the company's TikTok and talk about their experiences. That's fucked up. That's racist. And again, that's totally tokenizing. Like, you cannot expect your Black employees to do the work for you. Do the work yourself. And honestly, let's be real, Kristen Leanne doesn't want to do the work. She just wants to throw a Black person out there to be like, look, we have a Black employee, leave me alone. Because there's also information in here about the Pull Up or Shut Up campaign. So I think it was the founder of Uoma Beauty started this, and she wanted people to list out the ethnicity of their employees, of their executives, their, like, I think it's called like the C-suite or something, like all of their heads, to show that the beauty industry was mostly white, which is very evident just even based on like what shades are available. You can tell that it's mostly white people. And so she did the Pull Up or Shut Up campaign. I couldn't find the post. It's been deleted. The old head of marketing posted their stuff, and Kristen Leanne snapped on them on their Slack channel, because a lot of people use Slack. It's like just like an online community where you can chat, so you can have like your own channel and talk to with each other, kind of like my work uses Skype, some people use Slack. She basically told them to take it down and was like, this is ridiculous. This makes it look like our staff, our, like, you know, C-suite is hired, our executives are hired when we founded the company, which is a lie. We'll get back to that. And the team pushed back, and then they finally deleted the post. And then the next day, or a couple days later, Ryan Morgan asked them all to go back to their office. June 1st, in the middle of a pandemic, he asked them to go back to their office. And they all pushed back because they were like, what the fuck? First of all, it felt like, it seems in the article that it feels like it was a retaliation for the Pull Up or Shut Up post. And then second, and also because they didn't want them involved in the Black Lives Matter protests, because let's be real, they don't support Black Lives Matter, because if you even have to think about whether or not giving back to Black Lives Matter is political, you don't support it. So they asked them all to go back to the office, and when people pushed back and said, listen, one girl's email, I love her, said like, your profits have been my priority at this job for the last 2 years. It would be nice if my livelihood was your priority, because she's a Black woman who wanted to protest. And they were trying to force them to go back into the office in the middle of a pandemic. And like, first of all, any office that makes their employees go back into the office when it is not necessary, and like in June was like the thick of the pandemic. And also there is like, the pandemic has never cooled down in America. Why did you need them to go back to the office? And when they pushed back, they were all fired 3 weeks later. 5 people were fired 3 weeks later. The Arctic Fox statement said that it was COVID related, like it was because like their business took a hit because of COVID. But let's not forget that in the beginning of the pandemic, bitches were dyeing their hair left and right. Hi, my hair was purple through Arctic Fox at the beginning of the pandemic because everyone was buying Arctic Fox and dyeing their hair funky colors. YouTube was just, let me dye my hair a wild color back in March. So I find it hard to believe that they were seeing a decline. They refused to show their finances or disclose their finances in this. And there is evidence of them rehiring for these exact positions on Indeed right after. So like they're literally just the kind of people that fire people for no reason. They're trying to control their employees. There's a lot in this article about Kristen Leanne being like a toxic boss who like expects her employees to work a lot and like undermines them as condescending. And like, I don't think that's the important part of this article. Like, yeah, that's a thing, but I kind of feel like there's so many bosses like that. I've worked in corporations before, and I just feel like every boss sucks. So I feel like the real issue here we need to talk about is the fact that Kristen Leanne and her husband are racist and that Kristen Leanne is homophobic, and people need to stop supporting them. And then the last point I want to talk about is the fact that Kristen Leanne and Ryan Morgan do not own Arctic Fox. A fucking mind blow. Like my mind exploded when I heard that. So apparently, according to an old blog article the author dug up, Kristen Leanne said that she was sent a sample of the product back when she was an influencer, because she was already an influencer before she bought Arctic Fox or was hired by them, whatever. And she was sent a sample and she loved it, did a review video of it, and then she and Ryan, her fiance at the time, who became her husband, put a pitch together to try to like get involved with the company. So they were brought on as creative director, and I believe Ryan's LinkedIn says chief product officer. Yeah, I'll get into their LinkedIns in a second. So they put a pitch together and they were brought onto the team. Now in the article or in the blog, Kristen Leanne refers to herself as owning a part of Arctic Fox, but regardless, the company existed before she was ever involved in the company. And I thought that she founded the company because I am sure she has said on her YouTube channels a million times that Arctic Fox is her company, that she started the company. And when you go to their LinkedIns, which I will include screenshots of, Kristen Leanne's LinkedIn says owner of Arctic Fox, and Ryan's says co-founder of Arctic Fox. So they're both perpetuating this lie that they founded the company, when realistically, when you actually look at the company information online on Inc. and on other websites, the owner is listed as, hold on, what's his name? Something Bay. I can't remember his name. His last name is Bay, like literally B-A-E, iconic. So he is the owner of the company. What stake Kristen Leanne and Ryan Morgan have in the company, I have no idea, but they don't own the company. So first of all, what a weird fucking lie. Like, she really wanted you to think that she's some badass like entrepreneur bitch, when realistically she's not. And also, like, just what a weird fucking lie. I had no and also, sorry. Oh yeah, when she found the company, they were already cruelty-free, already vegan, already donated to animal charities. So literally she contributed nothing except for a platform. She's basically a brand ambassador. Like, I have to wonder, like, Ryan says chief product officer, so does he like help create the colors? Like, to what extent do they actually do for the brand? I have no fucking idea. However, I will say that I think that this part is Arctic Fox's saving grace. This is another example of a brand that is going to tank because of its brand owner. In the article, they literally talk about the fact that, you know, they would receive hate every time Kristen Leanne would get into drama, and they didn't know how to defend it. They like said basically like she brought on more drama than she ever like helped us. So I think that they need to go the Kat Von D route and get her the fuck out of the company, get Ryan the fuck out of the company, because at this point Arctic Fox doesn't need Kristen Leanne. Kristen Leanne needs Arctic Fox because her platform's not doing well. She's gonna get canceled for this, and deservedly so. There's also, again, some allegations about animal abuse, but I don't know them enough to discuss them, but they are on Reddit if you want to look into it. So I think that they need to go the Kat Von D route, buy her out, buy Ryan out, and then the company can just run itself. Literally, the article says that the CEO and the CFO are who run the company. Kristen Leanne basically just fucking works there, which again is mind-blowing to me that she has been perpetuating this lie that she is some girl boss entrepreneur who started this business with her husband when she didn't do anything except for find a product she liked, become the face of that brand, and then lie and tell the world that she owned it, all while sinking the company's reputation with her own shitty personality. Oh, also, before this, she did post a response on Instagram. She basically said, we had to fire these people because of the pandemic and the expenses related with that. And these people are just spreading like hateful, vindictive lies about me. None of this is true, which I just do not believe. I do not believe that 9 employees were let go in the middle of a pandemic and actually went the route of going to Insider and spreading lies about you. Like, people just don't do that. That doesn't happen. I don't believe it. If they were gonna spread lies about you, they would have done it on Twitter after they were fired. Let's be real. Also in the article, Kristen and Leanne sent them all cease and desist and tried to fine them $10,000 based on the NDA that they signed when they started the company. And I just think that, like, if someone's lying, do you send them a cease and desist? Do you try to, like, say you're gonna sue them? It's just like, here's the thing, again, if she didn't have this history of racism and lying, maybe you'd believe her. But the fact that she has been lying to us about owning Arctic Fox for all this time, the fact that she has all of these racist and homophobic lies, like what's the racist lie in the article? We already have your documented racism out here in the world. So you're just trying to save face for your dedicated consumers, but I really think that Arctic Fox needs to get the fuck rid of Kristen and Leanne. I'm not going to support them anymore. I had already decided not to, and I will be honest, when I was doing the research for this video, I was ashamed at myself for how long it took me to cancel them personally. Like, I should have canceled Kristen, Leanne, and Arctic Fox a long fucking time ago. As white people, we look past microaggressions too easily, and we need to hold ourselves accountable for that. And I definitely think that this should be the last straw. And when you look at this article, really look at the instances of racism, because while the article is being framed as being about homophobia, which is, again, I do have no fucking tolerance for homophobia. There's a lot of racism in her past, and I think it's kind of glossed over in the article. There's just like a lot going on in the article, and if you just read the beginning, it's just about the homophobia. And she's also racist. So basically she's trash, and I think she needs to be canceled. And anyone in my comments saying that we shouldn't cancel people, no. I think that, I don't care if she's canceled, but I think that people want to know who they're supporting. They want to know where their money goes, and they want to know, you know, the idea of an influencer is having this parasocial relationship with somebody. You want to support people that you like, and I don't like her, so I don't want to support her. And I don't think that people should support her either. If you have a problem with racism and homophobia, you shouldn't support her. If you have a problem with the fact that she's a fucking liar, you shouldn't support her. And I think that Arctic Fox as a brand needs to get rid of her. We need to, I would say, email Arctic Fox and tell them you want them to get rid of Kristen Leanne. She's not an owner. She probably owns some shares in the company, I would assume, based on whatever their deal was, but she's not an owner. So, bye, bitch. Like, I want her ousted, and I don't want her ousted in the way that Doe Deer was ousted from Lime Crime. I want her ousted in the way Kat Von D was. Buy her out so that when I purchase in the future, my money doesn't go to her at all. And that's how it should be. And if they don't do that, I think they're going to see their brand take a severe decline, because people are gonna put up with this shit, and that's that. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below what you think. Did you guys know about all of this stuff about Kristen Leanne before, or did this article kind of help put it all together for you? Have you seen the article? I only saw it because I saw Here for the Tea posted it on Instagram and Twitter, and I read it last night and I read it again this morning, and then I did some more research, and I just think that she gots to go. She gots to go. The fact that she had Thanksgiving with Amanda Ensing is just the cherry on top of the hateful cake. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you think, and if you support Kristen Leanne, I don't care to hear from you. Okay, bye!